The power of absolute commitment is what separates those who achieve greatness from those who remain stuck in mediocrity. It is the force that drives champions, leaders, and visionaries to push past obstacles, defy the odds, and create extraordinary results. Without it, even the most talented, intelligent, or resourceful individuals will fall short. Commitment is not just about saying, I want this. It is about saying, I will do whatever it takes to make it happen, and then following through with relentless action. Many people dabble. They test the waters, waiting for the perfect moment, the perfect plan, the perfect circumstances. But commitment does not wait for perfection. It thrives in uncertainty. It is the decision to burn the boats, to remove all escape routes, and to make success the only possible outcome. When you fully commit to something, failure is no longer an option. You either find a way or you make one. Commitment transforms the way you think, act, and approach life. It rewires your brain to seek solutions instead of excuses. The moment you commit, your mindset shifts from can I to how will I. That shift alone changes everything, because when you eliminate doubt, you eliminate hesitation. And hesitation is the silent killer of dreams. Think about the moments in your life when you were fully committed to something. Maybe it was a goal, a relationship, a business, or a personal transformation. When you were all in, nothing could stop you. You worked through exhaustion, ignored distractions, and pushed past setbacks because quitting was never an option. That is a power of absolute commitment. It fuels resilience, creativity, and an unstoppable drive to succeed. The reason most people never reach their full potential is that they lack true commitment. They say they want success, but they allow fear, doubt, and inconvenience to dictate their actions. The difference between those who succeed and those who don't isn't talent or luck. It's the depth of their commitment. The ones who make it are those who refuse to quit when things get hard. They're the ones who embrace discomfort, take risks, and stay disciplined even when motivation fades. When you commit, absolutely, you remove the luxury of making excuses. You don't wait for the right time. You don't wait for the right resources because you become resourceful. You don't wait for permission because you know success is something you claim, not something that is given to you. One of the biggest lies people tell themselves is that they will commit when they feel ready. But readiness is an illusion. You will never feel 100% ready because growth requires stepping into the unknown. If you wait for certainty, you will wait forever. True commitment is about making a decision in the face of uncertainty and trusting yourself enough to figure things out along the way. Commitment isn't just about big goals. It's about the small daily choices that compound over time. It's about showing up even when you don't feel like it. It's about staying disciplined when distractions try to pull you away. It's about holding yourself to a higher standard and refusing to settle for anything less than what you truly want. Most people fail not because they lack ambition, but because they give themselves an exit strategy. They tell themselves, I'll try, which gives them an easy way out when things get tough. But trying is not committing. Trying means you are giving yourself permission to quit when the road gets rough. Commitment means you keep going no matter what. When you look at the most successful people in any field, business, sports, entertainment, or personal development, you will see one common trait. They are all absolutely committed to their vision. They don't just wish for success, they demand it from themselves. They work longer, train harder, and sacrifice more than the average person because they have decided that nothing will stop them. And here's the thing about commitment. The moment you truly commit, life moves in your favor. Doors begin to open, opportunities present themselves, and the right people come into your life. It's not luck. It's the result of your energy, focus, and actions aligning with your purpose. When you show the universe that you are serious, it responds accordingly. But commitment isn't just about working harder, it's about being willing to pay the price for what you want. Every great achievement comes with a cost. It may be sacrificing comfort, enduring criticism, or facing repeated failure. The question is, are you willing to pay the price? Because if you're not truly committed. Most people only commit until it gets hard. They start with excitement but quit when they hit their first major obstacle. True commitment means pushing past resistance, fighting through doubt, and staying the course even when everything inside you is screaming to give up. That is where greatness is built, in the moments where most people quit, but you decide to keep going. The truth is, if you want something badly enough, you will find a way. If you don't, you will find an excuse. And that's the difference between those who live their dreams and those who spend their lives watching from the sidelines. So if you want to achieve something extraordinary, ask yourself, am I truly committed or am I just interested? Because interest fades when things get tough, but commitment drives you to keep moving forward no matter what. If you are serious about success, you must remove every excuse, burn every bridge leading to mediocrity, and declare to yourself that you will succeed no matter what. Commitment is the ultimate superpower because it gives you an edge over everyone who is still waiting for the perfect time, the perfect plan, or the perfect conditions. The moment you commit, you step into a different reality, one where success is not a possibility but an inevitability. You decide right now, are you all in or are you just testing the waters? Because the moment you choose absolute commitment, everything changes. The moment you declare, I will succeed or die trying, you set yourself on a path where failure is nothing more than a lesson and success is the only outcome. No more hesitation, no more excuses, no more waiting. It's time to commit fully, completely, and without any doubt, because when you do, you become unstoppable. Your mind is the command center of your life. Everything you do, everything you achieve, and everything you become starts with how you think. Most people are programmed to play. It's safe, to avoid discomfort, and to seek the path of least resistance. But success, the kind that transforms your life, demands a different kind of wiring. It demands that you train your mind for relentless action, that you condition yourself to push forward even when every part of you wants to slow down. The biggest reason people stay stuck is that their mindset is wired for hesitation, overthinking, and self-doubt. They wait until they feel ready, but that feeling never comes. They wait for perfect conditions, but perfect conditions never exist. They let fear, past failures, and the opinions of others dictate their actions. And the result? A life of frustration, unrealized potential, and the painful regret of knowing they could have been so much more. To break free, you have to rewire the way you think. You have to train yourself to take action before you feel like it, before the doubts creep in, and before hesitation robs you of momentum. The mind is a muscle, and like any muscle, it strengthens with repetition. The more you condition yourself to act despite fear, the more fearless you become. The more you push yourself when you don't feel like it, the more discipline you develop. And the more you challenge your limits, the stronger you grow. People talk about motivation, but motivation is unreliable. It comes and goes like the wind. If you rely on motivation to take action, you will only move when you feel inspired. That is not how champions operate. The people who dominate in any field, business, sports, personal growth, don't wait for motivation. They create a system of habits, routines, and mental triggers that force them to act whether they feel like it or not. They train their minds to associate action with identity. They don't say, I should work out. They say, I am an athlete. They don't say, I need to be more disciplined. They say, I am someone who does whatever it takes. Rewiring your mind for relentless action is about breaking the patterns that keep you stuck. Most people operate in a cycle of hesitation. A thought enters their mind, an idea, a goal, an opportunity. But instead of acting, they analyze, they overthink, they seek validation. And in that gap between thought and action, doubt creeps in. fear takes hold and they do nothing. The solution? Shrink the gap. The moment you think about doing something, move. They understand that every second spent hesitating is a second lost to fear. They don't waste time debating whether they should take action. They just do it. Because the truth is, action creates clarity. When you move, you get feedback. You learn, you adjust, you improve. But when you sit still, nothing changes. Your brain is wired for survival, not success. It is designed to keep you safe, to avoid risk, to stay within the comfort zone. But success lives outside of that zone. To rewire your mind, you have to train yourself to run toward what scares you rather than away from it. Instead of avoiding discomfort, you must seek it. Instead of running from failure, you must embrace it as part of the process. Instead of waiting for confidence, you must understand that confidence comes after action, not before it. Every time you hesitate, you reinforce the belief that you are not capable. Every time you avoid action, you teach your brain that fear wins. But every time you push forward despite doubt, you rewire yourself for power. The more you act, the more unstoppable you become. And eventually, taking action becomes your default setting. You don't think about whether you should, you just do. One of the most powerful ways to reprogram your mind is through your internal dialogue. The words you use shape your reality. If you constantly tell yourself, I'm not ready, this is too hard, or what if I fail? You are feeding the very mindset that holds you back. But if you shift your language to, I figure things out, I always find a way, and every challenge makes me stronger, you begin to condition a different response in your brain. And then there's physiology. Your body affects your mind as much as your mind affects your body. When you move with energy, when you stand tall, your state changes instantly. This is why some of the most successful people in the world use movement, intense exercise, or power poses before making big decisions or taking bold action. Because your body and mind are connected, and if you master one, you can control the other. Intermittent fasting is another critical piece of rewiring your mind. If you are surrounded by people who hesitate, doubt themselves, and make excuses, their energy will seep into you. But if you immerse yourself in an environment of action takers, people who move fast, take risks, and demand more from themselves, you will absorb that mindset. The fastest way to shift your thinking is to change who you are around. And let's talk about momentum, because momentum is everything. One of the biggest mistakes people make is stopping after a small win. They take action, see some progress, and then slow down. But momentum is fragile. It disappears the moment you stop moving. This is why you must build the habit of pushing harder when things start working, not relaxing. The best in the world don't slow down when they win, they double down. Rewiring your mindset for relentless action is a daily process. It requires you to attack each day with purpose, to override hesitation with movement, and to replace excuses with execution. It is about turning discipline into your identity so that taking action is no longer a choice, it's just who you are. And once you master this, nothing can stop you. Because when your default setting is action, you don't wait for opportunities. You create them. You don't fear failure. You leverage it. You don't wish for success. You take it. The moment you decide that you are done hesitating, overthinking, and playing small is the moment everything changes. So stop waiting. Stop analyzing. Stop letting fear hold the pen that writes your story. Take action. Move now. Do something that forces you out of your comfort zone. And do it again tomorrow and the next day until relentless action is hardwired into your DNA. That is how you take control of your mind. That is how you take control of your life. And that is how you win. Fear is the single greatest enemy of progress. It paralyzes, it distorts reality, and it convinces even the strongest minds to hesitate. The truth is, fear will never fully disappear. It will always be there, whispering doubts, magnifying risks, and trying to keep you in the comfort zone where nothing extraordinary ever happens. The only way to destroy fear. is to confront it head on, to override it with so much action that it has no space to exist. Fear is powerless in the presence of movement. The moment you take action, even in the smallest way, you weaken fear's grip on your mind. Most people wait until they feel ready before taking action, but fear ensures that moment never comes. Fear wants you to delay, to wait, to overthink. But if you understand that fear only grows in stillness and shrinks in motion, you will never let it control you again. The most successful people in the world feel fear just like everyone else, but the difference is they don't negotiate with it. They move forward despite it. They understand that fear is nothing more than a mental illusion, a trick of the brain designed to keep them safe. But safety does not lead to success. The fastest way to destroy fear is through massive act, not small, hesitant steps, but bold, aggressive movement that forces your mind and body into momentum. Action and fear cannot exist in the same space. The more you move, the more control you regain. When you take action, your focus shifts from what might go wrong to what do I need to do next. And that shift alone is enough to break fear's power. There is no strategy more effective for overcoming fear than exposure. Fear feeds on avoidance. The more you run from what scares you, the more power it gains. But when you step into it, when you face it repeatedly, fear loses its ability to control you. Think of every great achiever, every leader, every warrior in history. They all faced fear, but they trained themselves to step toward it rather than retreat. If you want to become unstoppable, you must condition yourself to act immediately when fear tries to slow you down. Most people let fear make their decisions for them. They let the fear of failure stop them from starting, the fear of judgment keep them from speaking up, the fear of discomfort keep them from pushing their limits. But here's the truth, fear is a liar. It exaggerates risks, it distorts reality, and it keeps you trapped in problems that don't even exist. The only way to prove fear wrong is to act before it convinces you otherwise. Imagine two people standing at the edge of a high diving board. The first one hesitates. They analyze the height. They imagine every possible thing that could go wrong. They let fear flood their mind. The longer they wait, the harder it becomes to jump. The second person climbs the ladder, reaches the edge, and jumps without a second thought. Fear never gets a chance to take hold. That is the power of action. It cuts fear off before it can take root. Fear thrives in the mind but dies in the body. This is why movement is so powerful. When you physically move, when you take a bold step forward, your body sends a signal to your brain that you are in control. This is why athletes, speakers, and performers jump, move, or breathe deeply before stepping onto a big stage. It forces their fear to dissolve into energy. The next time you feel fear creeping in, move, stand up, take a deep breath, make a phone call, write an email, take a step. Any step, just don't stay still. One of the greatest lies fear tells us is that we need to have everything figured out before we act. This is where most people get trapped. They wait for a perfect plan, for all the answers, for certainty before making a move. But the reality is, clarity comes from action, not thought. You don't need to see the entire path, you just need to take the first step. When you move, the next step reveals itself. Another weapon against fear is urgency. Fear loves time. It needs time to grow, to take over your mind, to convince you to do nothing. The longer you wait, the more fear wins. But when you train yourself to act fast, fear never gets a chance to sink in. Speed kills fear. When you get an idea, when you feel the pull to do something, move. Don't wait. Don't give yourself time to debate. Just act. Successful people are not fearless. They are action-oriented. They have learned that the way to handle fear is not by thinking about it, analyzing it, or trying to eliminate it before moving forward. They handle fear by acting first and dealing with emotions later. They know that action reprograms the brain, that every time they take a step, despite fear, they weaken its grip and build unshakable confidence. Confidence is not something you are born with. It is something you build through repetition. Every time you act in the face of fear, you prove to yourself that fear is not real, that it has no power over you. Every time you do something uncomfortable, you expand your comfort zone. What was once terrifying becomes easy, and you move on to even bigger challenges. This is how growth works. Think about something that used to scare you, maybe speaking in public, making a sales call, or taking a risk in your career. The first time it was terrifying, but after doing it again and again, the fear disappeared. This is proof that fear is nothing but an illusion that fades with experience. The more you expose yourself to fear, the more immune you become. The key is to stop allowing fear to dictate what you do and start using action as your weapon against it. Fear is a signal that you are stepping into something meaningful, something that has the potential to change you. Instead of seeing it as a stop sign, see it as an invitation to grow. Every time you feel fear, let it be a trigger for immediate action. The stronger the fear, the faster you move. If you let fear control you, you will look back years from now and realize that everything you wanted was on the other side of fear, but you never took the step. But if you act despite fear, if you train yourself to move before hesitation takes over, you will become someone who does not know limits. You will become the kind of person who sees fear and runs toward it, knowing that on the other side lies power, freedom, and success. Fear will never disappear, but its power over you can, and the only way to make that happen is through action. Massive, immediate, and relentless action. The more you act, the stronger you get. The stronger you get, the smaller fear becomes, until one day you wake up and realize you are unstoppable. Pain is the most powerful force in the world. It can break you or it can build you. It can make you shrink or it can make you rise. The difference is how you use it. Most people run from pain. They numb it, avoid it, or let it define them. But the strongest, the ones who achieve the impossible, are those who take their pain and transform it into fuel. They refuse to let their struggles weaken them. Instead, they used every ounce of suffering as energy to push harder, go further, and create something extraordinary. Pain is inevitable. At some point, life will hit you. You will face failure, loss, betrayal, disappointment. You will have moments when it feels like everything is falling apart. And in those moments, you have two choices. Let the pain destroy you or let it drive you. The people who achieve greatness, the ones who rise above, are not the ones who had an easy life. They're the ones who took their pain and made it their power. They let it sharpen them, harden them, push them beyond what they thought was possible. Most people see pain as the enemy, but pain is not the enemy. Complacency is, comfort is, staying the same is. Pain is the greatest teacher, the most honest guide. It shows you what you're made of. It reveals your weaknesses, exposes your fears, and forces you to decide who you truly are. The question is not whether you will experience pain. The question is what you will do with it. Some people allow pain to break their spirit. They let the past define their future. They replay their failures, their heartbreaks, their disappointments, and they use them as excuses for why they can't move forward. But others take the same pain and turn it into an unstoppable drive. They don't ask, why did this happen to me? They ask, how can I use this? Instead of letting pain become a prison, they make it a weapon. Think about the most successful people in the world. Most of them didn't come from easy circumstances. They were counted out, doubted, rejected. They went through struggles that would have made most people quit, but instead of letting pain define them, they used it. They used every setback, every insult, every hardship as fuel to push them further. They let their struggles build resilience, mental toughness, and an unshakable drive to prove themselves. The truth is, pain can be the most powerful motivator if you learn how to harness it. When you are tired, when you feel like giving up, when the world tells you no, that pain is energy, that frustration, that anger, that disappointment. Use it. Use it to push harder, train longer, work smarter. Every great achievement has pain behind it. The difference between those who succeed and those who fail is not whether they experience pain, it's how they respond to it. Pain is a gift. It forces growth, it forces action. When you are in pain, you have two choices: let it consume you or let it ignite you. When you experience heartbreak, let it remind you how deeply you can feel and use that depth to connect with others. When you fail, let it teach you what you need to fix so that you never make the same mistake again. When someone doubts you, let it drive you to prove them wrong, not out of bitterness, but out of a commitment to yourself. Most people want to avoid pain, but if you avoid pain, you avoid growth. The people who achieve the most are not the ones who had it easy. They are the ones who were willing to endure the struggle, the setbacks, the failures, because they knew that on the other side of pain was power. The fire that forges the strongest steel is the hottest. The most powerful minds, the toughest warriors, the greatest leaders, they were all forged in fire. You have to train yourself to reframe pain. Instead of seeing it as something that weakens you, see it as something that strengthens you. When you are struggling, remind yourself that pain is temporary, but what you build from it is permanent. The pain of discipline, the pain of failure, the pain of hard work. These are the prices you pay for success. And every moment of struggle is a step closer to greatness. Pain is a signal. It is telling you that something needs to change. It is telling you that you are being tested. The people who win in life are the ones who hear that signal and take action. They don't let pain defeat them. They let it refine them. They take control. They channel every painful experience into something productive. They train harder, work smarter, push further. And that is why they succeed. There will be days when you feel like you can't go on. Days when the weight of the world feels too heavy. But those are the days that define you. Because if you can push through that, if you can keep moving when everything in you wants to stop, you will become unstoppable. The pain you feel today is the strength you build tomorrow. Some of the most powerful transformations come from the darkest moments. When you hit rock bottom, when you feel broken, when everything seems to be against you, that is where your greatest power is born. Because when you have nothing left to lose, you become fearless. You stop caring about opinions. You stop waiting for permission. You realize that you are stronger than you ever imagined. This is how you turn pain into fuel. You use it to light a fire inside of you. You let it drive you instead of define you. You take control and refuse to let anything break you, because at the end of the day, pain is just energy. And the way you direct that energy will determine whether it destroys you or builds you into something unstoppable. The people you surround yourself with will determine the level of success, growth, and energy you bring into your life. If you want to be unstoppable, if you want to develop a do-or-die mindset, you cannot afford to spend time with people who drain you, doubt you, or hold you back. You need to surround yourself with fire starters, people who ignite your drive, push you forward, and challenge you to go beyond what you thought was possible. Every great achiever, every person who has ever broken through limits has had a team of fire starters around them. These are the people who don't just support you, but fuel you. They bring energy, ideas, and a relentless hunger to win. They don't settle for average, and they won't let you settle either. Being around them forces you to elevate, to stretch, to operate at a higher frequency. Most people are unaware of just how much their environment affects them. If you are surrounded by people who are negative, who complain, who blame the world for their problems, it will infect you. No matter how motivated you are, that energy will pull you down. It's like trying to light a fire in a rainstorm. Doesn't matter how strong the spark is if the environment is constantly putting it out. But when you surround yourself with fire starters, it's like adding gasoline to the flame. The energy grows, the momentum builds, the fire inside of you becomes unstoppable. Think about the people you spend the most time with. Are they pushing you forward or holding you back? Do they challenge you to be better? Or do they make excuses for staying the same? Are they talking about dreams, goals, and taking action? Or are they talking about why things won't work, why the world is against them, and why they can't change? The answers to these questions will reveal the path your life is taking, because whether you realize it or not, you are becoming like the people around you. If you want to become great, you have to get around people who think bigger, act faster, and demand more from themselves. You need people who refuse to let you play small, people who hold you accountable, people who make you uncomfortable because they force you to level up. If you are the smartest, most driven, most successful person in your circle, you are in the wrong circle. You need to get around people who challenge you, who make you feel like you need to step up just to keep up. There's no room for energy drainers in your life. These are the people who doubt you, who tell you to be realistic, who make you feel guilty for wanting more. They project their own fears, their own insecurities, their own limitations onto you, and if you are not careful, you will start believing them. You will start lowering your ambition just to fit in. That is the death of success. Fire starters operate differently. They talk about solutions, not problems. They see opportunities where others see obstacles. They take action while others make excuses. They are driven by a hunger for more, a relentless pursuit of growth, and they expect the same from you. Being around them forces you to raise your standards. It shifts your mindset, your habits, and your results. The key is to seek out these people. You don't just stumble into an environment of high achievers, you create it. That means being intentional about who you spend time with. It means cutting ties with people who drain you, even if they've been in your life for years. It means finding mentors, coaches, and peers who have already achieved what you want and learning from them. It means putting yourself in rooms where you feel like the smallest person, because that's where the most growth happens. Fight starters are not just people who are successful. They are people who make you feel more alive, more capable, and more powerful just by being around them. They bring energy, they challenge you, they push you to think bigger. They remind you that you are not here to be average, that you are not here to play small. When you surround yourself with fire starters, your world expands. What once seemed impossible becomes normal. Your standards rise, your confidence grows, you start operating on an entirely new level. If you want to win, you must protect your energy at all costs. You cannot afford to spend time with people who don't match your intensity. Every moment you waste in the wrong environment is a moment you could have spent growing, learning, building. The greatest investments you will ever make are in yourself and in the people you surround yourself with. Get around fire starters. Be relentless in building an environment that fuels you. When you do that, nothing will stop you. Emotional control is the foundation of peak performance, unshakable confidence, and true power. It is the difference between those who dominate their field and those who crumble under pressure. If you want to win, if you want to create a life where nothing can stop you, you must learn to master your emotions instead of letting them master you. The people who achieve the highest levels of success are not the ones who never feel fear, frustration, or doubt. They are the ones who have trained themselves to move forward regardless of what they feel. They don't allow emotions to dictate their action. They take control. Most people live at the mercy of their emotions. They wake up feeling tired, so they take the day slow. They feel frustrated, so they snap at others. They feel doubt creeping in, so they hold back instead of taking action. This is why so many people stay stuck, because they allow temporary emotions to create permanent limitations. But those who understand emotional control operate differently. They know that emotions are just energy, and that energy can be directed. They don't let feelings determine their choices. They let their mission, their vision, and their discipline lead the way. The first step to mastering emotional control is realizing that you are not your emotions. Just because you feel fear doesn't mean you have to act afraid. Just because you feel anger doesn't mean you have to hesitate. Emotions are temporary, but the actions you take in response to them will shape your future. When you stop identifying with every passing feeling and start treating emotions as signals rather than dictators, you take back control. Every emotion has a purpose. Fear is meant to heighten your senses, not paralyze you. Anger is meant to be a fuel for action, not an excuse for destruction. Frustration is a sign that you are meant for more, not a reason to give up. When you start viewing emotions as tools rather than obstacles, you can use them to your advantage instead of letting them control you. One of the greatest secrets of high performers is that they decide how they feel rather than waiting for emotions to decide for them. They create their emotional state through their physiology, their focus, and their language. If you stand tall, breathe deeply, move with energy, and speak with confidence, your emotions will follow. If you focus on what's possible instead of what's wrong, your emotions will shift. If you use powerful words instead of weak ones, you will feel stronger. Most people wait to feel right before they take action, but the truth is, action creates emotion. If you want confidence, move with certainty. If you want motivation, take the first step. If you want energy, stand up, breathe deep, and demand it from yourself. The body leads and the mind follows. You don't wait for the feeling, you generate it. The most powerful people in the world have trained themselves to stay composed in the face of chaos. They know that when emotions run high, logic runs low. They don't let external circumstances dictate their internal state. Instead, they condition themselves to respond rather than react. When things go wrong, they don't panic. They adjust. When they feel fear, they don't freeze. They move forward. When they get knocked down, they don't stay down. They rise immediately. Developing this level of control requires emotional conditioning. Just like building muscle, mastering emotions takes repetition. You have to put yourself in uncomfortable situations and train yourself to stay in control. You have to get used to operating under pressure, to stepping into discomfort, to pushing through resistance. The more you do this, the more resilient you become. Over time, things that once triggered you will no longer affect you. You will become unshakable. One of the greatest tools for emotional control is perspective. Most people react emotionally because they are too close to the situation. They see problems as the end of the world instead of temporary challenges. But when you step back, when you look at the bigger picture, you realize that most things are not worth your emotional energy. Instead of letting setbacks defeat you, you start seeing them as opportunities to grow. Instead of letting criticism hurt you, you see it as feedback to get better. Instead of letting fear stop you, you recognize it as proof that you are stepping outside your comfort zone, which means you're growing. Another key to mastering emotions is controlling your inner dialogue. The way you speak to yourself determines how you feel. If you tell yourself you're not good enough, you will feel weak. If you tell yourself you're unstoppable, you will feel powerful. Words create reality. Successful people are ruthless about managing their internal dialogue. They don't allow self-doubt, negativity, or limiting beliefs to take root in their mind. They consciously choose empowering language. They tell themselves, I can handle this. I am built for this. Nothing will break me, and because they speak this way, they feel this way. Discipline is another critical piece of emotional control. There will be days when you don't feel like doing what needs to be done. Days when motivation is low, when frustration is high, when excuses feel justified. But champions do not operate based on feelings, they operate based on standards. They have trained themselves to take action whether they feel like it or not. They follow through on commitments even when emotions try to pull them in the opposite direction. That is why they win. Emotional mastery is not about suppressing emotions. It's about understanding them and using them to your advantage. It's about recognizing when fear is trying to hold you back and choosing to act anyway. It's about feeling anger and channeling it into productive action instead of destructive behavior. It's about experiencing doubt and using it as a reason to prepare harder rather than as an excuse to give up. Most people are slaves to their emotions. They wake up in a bad mood and let it ruin their entire day. They let one negative comment destroy their confidence. They allow setbacks to convince them that they should quit. But when you master your emotions, you become untouchable. You decide how you feel. You decide how you respond. You decide the energy you bring to every situation. And when you reach that level of control, nothing can shake you. No matter what happens around you, you will remain focused. No matter how many times you fail, you will keep going. No matter how much pressure is on you, you will perform at your highest level. This is what separates the great from the average. This is what makes the difference between those who succeed and those who fall short. Mastering emotional control is not optional if you want to win. It is a requirement. And once you have it, you will have an edge over 99% of people, because while the rest of the world is reacting and being controlled by their emotions, you will be moving forward with absolute certainty, absolute focus, and absolute power.